Most of you aren't subscribed. Make sure to exorcise the subscribe button, as it helps out the channel. Without further ado, with a month passing since the incident, Saikyou has set a mission of making Onmyouji the center of attention, as he lives a normal life, to ensure he'll never meet the same fate as his previous life. Saying hello to Onmyouji, Saikyou is flat out told to never speak to her, which makes Saikyou freeze, as he can't remember the last time he made friends. Continuing to class, Saikyou and Yifa are surprised by a pot floating above them, forcing Saikyou to teleport himself and Saikyou away from the pot. Wondering if he should take a sample of the mysterious liquid in the pot, they realize that Professor Cordell was conducting an experiment. Mixing monster blood and boiling, only to accidentally have the pot fly away when he used dark magic. Apparently, dark magic controls gravity, space and time, whereas light controls lighting and light itself. But it's suspicious how Cordell has affinity for both polar opposite types. Heading to Ms. Karen's class, Saikyou learns that every new school year, the top two students, Yifa and Onmyouji, are tasked with delivering a new student roster to the Lodonia Forest as an offering. This seems dangerous, as the forest is where Saikyou fought Gull, therefore Saikyou has Yifa refuse, making Saikyou the next possible candidate. Chatting privately, Saikyou apologizes to Yifa for taking her position, but Yifa clearly couldn't care less, realizing Saikyou had planned to grow closer to Onmyouji. Getting jealous, Yifa wonders if Onmyouji is Saikyou's type, stating that she'll get stronger if he likes strong girls. But Saikyou states that he simply wants to be friends with Onmyouji, putting Yifa at ease. With the ceremony day arriving, Ms. Karen hands Onmyouji the roster list, as Saikyou and Onmyouji head into the forest. Questioning Saikyou's reason for coming, Saikyou states that he wants to simply chat, but Onmyouji believes that Saikyou is doing naughty things with his Yi. Feeling something, the two stumble onto a ritual circle, where they are teleported to a dungeon, where they are ambushed by 3 lizard men. Immediately springing into action, Onmyouji appears behind the 3, burning the 3 lizards. Letting her guard down, a greater lizard appears, forcing Saikyou to cast a rock spell, killing it. Beginning to explore the dungeon, Onmyouji mentions that most professional adventurers would deny venturing through undiscovered dungeons, and that they should be careful. Using his talismans to light up the area, Onmyouji is impressed, but quickly hides her joy. Using his talismans to mark their route, and signal his shikiagami on the surface to track them, Onmyouji senses approaching danger, charging at the horde of monsters. But having underestimated them, Onmyouji takes a brutal blow, and is knocked out. Unleashing a powerful summon, Saikyou calls a giant centipede. Saikyou allows the creature to run rampant, as it thrives in tight spaces. Waking up, Onmyouji notices her wounds are all healed, but her headache remains. Having healed all of Onmyouji's physical wounds, Saikyou puts up a barrier, deducing that Onmyouji has been marked by a curse. Inspecting Onmyouji's body, Saikyou believes the curse is far more complex, and that she most likely had been cursed from afar. Using a talisman to replace Onmyouji's presence. Taking the opportunity, Onmyouji asks if Saikyou had kissed Yifa, or if he had touched her, but Saikyou states no. Uttering that Yifa is like family to him, Onmyouji begins to laugh, but learns that Saikyou is an illegitimate child of a noble, and that Yifa means far more to him than just his slave. Opening up, Onmyouji says her mother is part of the guild, and her father is an adventurer. Additionally, ever since she was born, Onmyouji's love for fighting had always been apparent, making her stand out from the rest. In one of her past adventures, many of her party members had died, but she seemed numb to this. Coming to the school, she had hoped to get stronger, but had secretly wished to become normal, but this didn't seem possible. Giving Onmyouji some words of wisdom, Saikyou states that not all people are meant to be the same, and that if someone doesn't fit in, they simply have to search for a place where they do. Happy to know that Saikyou doesn't think she is weird, Onmyouji forces Saikyou to keep her secret. With both heading deeper into the dungeon, the two enjoy their time, killing and slaying countless creatures, eventually stumbling upon a boss room. Recognizing it as a naga, the two head in, knowing if they defeat it, they can leave the dungeon. Aggroing the creature, Saikyou realizes it can spit poison. With Onmyouji drawing the creature's attention, Saikyou shoots a metal rod into the naga, allowing Onmyouji to follow up and kill the naga. Jumping into Saikyou's arms, Onmyouji mentions how happy it is to kill a dungeon boss for the first time, but instantly retracts her joy, out of embarrassment. It's revealed that Saikyou had found the exit long ago, and could escape anytime, but wanted to give Onmyouji some experience fighting. Checking out the corpse, Saikyou pulls out a mithril sword, handing it to Onmyouji, whilst he keeps a mysterious ring. Leaving the dungeon, the two promise to go on more adventures in the future, but first they have to report to the teachers about the dungeon in the forest, and the creatures they slayed. Sadly, the ritual circle had disappeared, so there was no way of tracking the perpetrator. Visiting Professor Cordell, Saikyou reveals that he knows Cordell is a traitor, as it was suspicious how a demon like Gull could sneak into the school. Deducing Saikyou as the person that killed Gull, Saikyou is impressed, asking for Cordell to reveal his true form. But Cordell is human, working for the devils as a spy, having created a new light spell that is able to curse people from afar, giving them. Being so close to killing Onmyouji, Cordell attempts to attack Saikyou, but Saikyou states that he had figured out the curse's condition, that being the target had to have been covered in demon blood. Bringing out a captured demon, Saikyou covers himself in the demon's blood, transferring Onmyouji's curse onto him. Then he begins chanting a curse of his own, repelling his newly acquired curse, back onto Cordell, leaving the professor to bleed out on the floor. Now with the threat gone, Saikyou chooses to give his dungeon ring to Yifa, knowing that the ring will make Yifa stronger. With a new year already starting, we see Onmyouji grow closer to Yifa and Saikyou, thanking the two for spending time with her and helping her study. Noting that there had been no more demon attacks, Saikyou is seen putting talismans all over campus to prepare for a repeat incident like last year. Saikyou is suddenly called by the vice principal, to have him and Yifa visit the principal office, the next morning. Pondering the meaning of this, a girl continues to observe the trio. Heading to the office the next evening, the two realize they've never actually seen the principal before, believing the position to be vacant. Laying eyes on Saikyou, the principal is immediately able to tell Saikyou is mature, whilst Saikyou is shocked to see the principal as a demi-human, which the principal takes as an insult, prompting Saikyou to apologize for addressing the principal as so. Seeing Saikyou, the principal offhandedly mentions his uncle, but Saikyou was unaware he had an uncle. Getting to the point, the principal asks for Saikyou or Yifa to enter a sword fighting tournament with a new first year, Mabel Crane. Jealous that she wasn't offered to fight, Onmyouji wonders why now of all years does the magical school get to participate in a physical combat tournament. Saikyou reasons that it would be best for him to go, and that it would help the school's reputation. Additionally, the principal had asked Saikyou or Yifa because the upperclassmen are all busy with exams, but Yifa did mention Saikyou had a reputation, having already been through various tough jobs. Still sour about not being invited, Onmyouji learns that winners get money, but also the chance of being a royal guard, which Onmyouji is against, as she would prefer fighting monsters in a dungeon, over standing by all day. Comforting Onmyouji ultimately concedes, but one thing is still suspicious, as Yifa was chosen over Onmyouji, since most people know Yifa would never be able to harm another human, which makes joining a tournament unreasonable. Walking through the school, Onmyouji continues to bash Mabel, believing her to be a noble, using others to benefit for themselves. But Mabel overhears her, stating that Onmyouji has no idea of the hardships Mabel has been through. Calling Onmyouji all talk for someone weak, Onmyouji becomes triggered, challenging Mabel to a duel. Demanding some practice swords, Onmyouji tosses a blade to Mabel, asking to settle who's stronger once and for all. With both taking stances, Saikyou notes how both are showing off their confidence with a blade. Wanting to see Mabel's potential, Saikyou signals for the two to fight. With Onmyouji lunging at Mabel, Mabel is able to parry her blade, going on the offensive, which catches Onmyouji off guard. Having destroyed Onmyouji's blade, Mabel is deemed the winner, walking off, but not before asserting her dominance. But Onmyouji calls Mabel out for using magic, which Mabel calls it part of the duel, turning to Saikyou and telling him to take the tournament seriously. Checking up on Onmyouji, we see Onmyouji set her goal on something. A while later, Saikyou is seen on a carriage heading to the capital with Mabel, but they are accompanied by Yifa and Onmyouji. Wanting to see Mabel's true potential, Onmyouji had snuck out of class, which Saikyou couldn't help, and will share a lodge with Yifa. On the way, everyone learns that Mabel is the same age as Saikyou and Onmyouji, but Yifa is a year older than everyone, explaining her more matured body. Seeing others having fun, Mabel can't help but detest them, as they aren't mature enough for her. Wanting to say something, Seika holds himself back, which Mabel adds that Seika too is not mature enough. Having arrived, Mabel has disappeared, and Seika is in poor shape, but Seika still soldiers on. Looking at the brackets, Seika realizes that he'll have to fight Mabel, eventually, which is weird to say the least. Asking if Onmyouji recognizes any fighters, Onmyouji states that no strong adventurers would be caught participating. Seen enough, Seika has to be alone, wanting to figure the reason for why he was chosen over others to participate in a sword tournament. Before leaving, Onmyouji makes jokes about Seika doing naughty things, which Seika is forced to brush off. With the tournament beginning, it's revealed that half of participants are mages, and that someone loses if they are unconscious, knocked out of the ring, surrender, or their amulet is broken. With Seika as the first match, we see his opponent, a mercenary Dennis Regan, supposedly the strongest in his guild, but is also a disowned noble for bad behavior. Additionally, Dennis is purely a swordsman who loves beating up the weak, especially mages, believing that mages are too slow to cast their spells. Knowing that he'll win, Dennis thinks of Seika, but Seika says he'll easily handle Dennis swiftly. As the match begins, Dennis impales Seika, but Seika feints with a talisman, appearing behind and blowing Dennis out of the ring. Knowing he didn't kill him, Seika shows no care to Scum, as he heads out. Chatting with Yuki, Seika agrees that he needs to tone it down, if he doesn't want to stand out. Arriving back with Onmyouji and Yifa, Seika thanks the girls for cheering him on, as they await the next match. Bellum, a water mage versus Kyle, a warrior with no information, meaning he could be either mage or swordsman. With the bout beginning, Kyle immobilizes Bellum, slowly walking to his opponent. Wondering why Bellum isn't moving, Seika has a closer look, watching as Bellum is stabbed by Kyle, winning him the match and impressing onlookers. With no one knowing what just transpired, Seika deduces that Kyle most likely wields an evil eye, and has killed countless people. With Seika's next opponent enchanting their golem with several anti-magic spells, Seika is forced to swiftly bring out a summon, which easily dismantles the golem, appearing as if Seika had cast a wind spell. With the opponent forced to surrender, Seika notes that no summoners are allowed in the tournament, and that it should be fine, as long as he's able to hide such summons. Returning to Onmyouji and Yifa, Seika notes Yifa's worried state, not wanting Seika to suffer the same fate at the hands of Kyle, the killer. Reassuring that he will not lose, Onmyouji adds that she can't picture Seika losing, but at this rate, Seika will be forced to join the royal guards. But Seika says he'll simply refuse, putting Onmyouji at ease. As Mabel is scheduled to fight next, against Howlo, a powerful earth wizard, Seika watches their fight closely. As Howlo shoots several rocks at Mabel, Mabel unsheathes her blades, easily dicing the incoming projectiles, forcing Howlo to begin using mid-tier spells. Seeing Mabel approaching, Howlo attempts to slow her down, using several rock walls, but Mabel is able to infuse her daggers with gravity magic, allowing them to cut right through the earth pieces. Onmyouji realizes that Mabel is enchanting the daggers, the moment she tosses them, as they would be too heavy to throw if enchanted before. Additionally, Seika notes Mabel's powerful sword style, as it seems like a complicated style for a kid to learn. Having closed the distance, Mabel is able to disarm the sorcerer, forcing him to concede, crowning Mabel the hero Mabel. Wondering why Mabel is called the hero, Seika learns that in the past, there was a hero called Mabel, who wields similar weapons. That night, we see a green-haired boy attempt to send a messenger pigeon, but Seika intervenes, revealing that he knows the boy is a demon spy, and refusing to admit it, the boy attempts to leave, but not before pulling a knife on Seika, attacking him. Having anticipated this, Seika is forced to restrain the boy, whilst giving him another chance to confess. But the boy refuses, welcoming Seika to torture him, but Seika has other plans. Bringing out a summon, Satori, a monkey-like creature that simply glares at the green hair, Seika reveals that the creature will read the boy's soul. Beginning to read the green-haired mind, Seika begins asking the boy questions, as Satori begins speaking the boy's thoughts. Learning of the boy's origins and who's hiring him, Seika confirms that the boy is a demon spy, but runs into some blockage as the boy attempts to jumble up his own thoughts. Changing topics to the hero, Seika learns that the boy is following the hero Mabel Crane, as she fits all the criterias of the prophecy, and that other demon spies that infiltrate Seika's school was able to confirm her capabilities right before they went missing. Satisfied with the information, Seika releases the boy, but does not let him go, allowing Satori to feed on the boy, as Seika encases them in a noise-canceling box. Turning to Seika, Satori begins reading his master's mind, but Seika warns the creature to stop, or he will kill it, returning the summon. Chatting with Yuki, Seika reveals that Mabel is simply a fake hero the school created to draw attention away from Onmyouji, the real hero. The reason the demons are so misinformed is because Seika killed all their spies in the school. Since Mabel is keeping Onmyouji safe, Seika has no reason to interfere, but he's curious about Mabel's true identity, still wondering why the principal sent Seika to accompany Mabel. The next day, the evil eye Kyle and a 4-elemental knight Reinaz both winning their matches. Reinaz wishes Seika the best, as Seika swiftly defeats a necromancer opponent, as Mabel defeats hers. Running into Mabel, Seika congratulates Mabel, but Mabel asks for Seika to forfeit, not wanting to waste time, but Seika refuses, forcing Mabel to show off how desperate she is for winning. Not wanting to hurt Seika, Mabel leaves, as several participants begin forfeiting before their matches, forcing the tournament to announce a special match between Kyle and Reinaz. Beginning the duel, Reinaz immediately uses light magic, casting a protection against Kyle's evil eye, but this doesn't faze Kyle. Slowly walking towards Reinaz, Reinaz is forced to shoot different projectiles, but none slow down Kyle, who is using gravity magic to fortify himself. With no choice, Reinaz unleashes an army of golems, but Kyle unveils his dark magic, easily dismantling the army of golems. Taking the opportunity to close the gap, Reinaz swings at Kyle, but Kyle stabs Reinaz's shadow, freezing him on the spot. Before Kyle is able to cut Reinaz down, the match is awarded to Kyle. That night, Seika realizes that the final battles are tomorrow, and that he should rest up, prompting Yuki to change to her human form, wanting to rest next to her master. But Seika senses danger, pulling Yuki aside, as Seika greets Mabel. Dodging a dagger, Seika throws himself at Mabel, as the two fly out a window. Attempting to bind Mabel, Seika tricks Mabel, blasting her back, as he commands her strength. As an outsider checks on the noise, Mabel takes the chance to disappear. Thanks for watching. Subscribe, like and comment.